Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Pima Community College Governing Board meeting of September 8th, 2021. The first item of business is our roll call. Mr. Sylvan, could you please read the roll?
Ms. Ripley?
Present.
Ms. Garcia?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Dr. Hay?
Present.
Mr. Klinko?
Here.
All board members are present.
Okay, terrific. Next is our public comment and call to the audience. The Pima Community College Governing Board welcomes comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the college. Generally, the total time for public comment is limited to 45 minutes, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. These time limits may be modified by the board chair or board. Individual sharing comments are expected to communicate with decorum and respect. Individuals who engage in disorderly conduct or who use divisive or insulting language may have their time reduced or concluded by the board chair. At the conclusion of the public comment, individual board members may respond to criticism made by those who address the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that the matter be put on a future agenda. Members of the board, however, may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during the public comment unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. Finally, be advised that the internal college processes are available for students and employees for communication. That also you can email the board with your comments or the Chancellor's office. The first individual on our list this evening is Wendy Erica Warden. Ms. Warden?
Hello, Damien. So good to see you. Can you all hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to address you briefly this evening. I'm Wendy Erica Warden. I'm the manager of community investment at Tucson Electric Power Company. And I just wanted to take a few brief moments to address you and first congratulate Pima Community College for receiving the 2021 Go Green Award for Innovation. And secondly, I'd like to express our gratitude for the sponsorship of the upcoming Rev It Up event that we're going to be sharing with Pima Community College in October. So first to the Go Green Award. This is an award series that we have hosted for the last several years to really kind of give a platform for our community partners to highlight the great things that they're doing around the areas of sustainability, innovation, education, and really Pima Community College has hit the mark with all of those and has been awarded the Go Green Award for Innovation. To us, it's really a hallmark of what Chancellor Lambert is seeking to accomplish with his centers of excellence and all of you at Pima Community College. And really it's about current and future industry around the electric transportation industry, both residential and commercial. And also that the centers of excellence themselves are energy efficient and built around those principles of sustainability. So this is a virtual awards presentation that we will be hosting sometime within the next 2 months, as soon as all of our awardees are notified. But we were able to make the presentation to Chancellor Lambert in person at your Automotive Center of Excellence. And let me tell you, it is quite an impressive location. And then just second briefly is our partnership as one of the main sponsors around Rev It Up coming up in October. And really that's just about strengthening our community in general, but to show those supports for the centers of excellence and just all the ways that Pima Community College is really helping all of the industries in Southern Arizona prepare for the future workforce. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I did just want to take a moment to thank you all this evening for allowing me the opportunity to formally present you all as kind of co-hosts of the award for Go Green.
Wendy, thank you very much for coming and letting us know. We're really thrilled to continue to be a partner with TEP, and thank you for all the work that you do in the community as well.
Thank you.
Next, we have Amber Smith with the Tucson Chamber. Ms. Smith.
Damien, I don't see Amber listed as an attendee.
Okay, we will move on to Malika Hayes. Michaela, excuse
Hi,
me.
thank you. Yes. So good evening. My name is Michaela Hayes, and I've lost my notes already. This is starting well. Sorry about that. So I just I'm honored to introduce myself as the new PCCEA president. We're looking forward this year to working on some big projects throughout the year and are hopeful for a collaborative discussion and working towards common solutions with administration in order to benefit the PCC students and our community. Larger items that PCCA will be focusing on this year include the classification and compensation study, the potential academic workforce planning project and the board consent agenda today, continued policy improvements and discussions on topics such as an equitable remote work policy, and having a more detailed and collaborative discussion with administration on the budgetary trends we brought forward last year. PCCA supports faculty in their work to serve students through advocacy for equitable working conditions and compensation. Part of this advocacy also includes coming to the board with issues that have not been able to be addressed through internal channels or that we feel bears your attention at the board level. I would love to see a more formal way for PCCEA and the other board recognized representative groups to communicate more regularly with the board. To that end, I have a request that I believe would allow employees to feel more heard, as well as help the board hold the college responsible for true collaboration and shared governance. If an employee brings an issue to public comment that the board feels is significant enough to follow up on at a future meeting, either via report or a study session, then I would love to see that employee or employee group who brought the concern forward have the opportunity to co-present the outcome of any discussions to the board. Thank you so much for your consideration and for your time tonight, and I look forward to working with you more this upcoming year.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your new role. You'll be a terrific advocate leading the PCEA, so congratulations. Chancellor Lambert, is that something we can look at how to integrate the individuals who are bringing concerns forward into sort of the follow-up and when we close the loop? I know sometimes it just comes as a report. It's not necessarily a full presentation. Sometimes it's an internal resolution. So is there a way that we can just explore what some options may be to create a stronger engagement?
Absolutely. We're always open to exploring those options. Just a reminder that because of the law change at the state level, we have to be careful about recognizing certain groups over other groups. And so just that cautionary piece to keep in mind.
Okay. Well, hopefully, Michaela, you can come back as this is getting reported out. It'd be the first issue that's been brought forward to let us know how it's working out.
Amber is available if you wanted to.
Oh, yes. Let's move to, thank you very much, Dr. Hay. If we could move to Amber Smith.
Sorry about that. Amber Smith, Tucson Metro Chamber. So happy to be able to present a recent partnership with the college. We host an annual small business celebration called the Copper Cactus Awards, where we really highlight the best practices of local businesses in our community. And this year, we are so proud to partner with Pima Community College with an award recognizing employee development program. And really what it is focusing on as part of our workforce development blueprint that we recently launched that was completely data proven or data driven to highlight 5 of the largest things that we can do as a community to support workforce development. And one of them really spoke to employee retention as well as growth. And the college stepped up to support a new category called the Employee Development Program that recognizes those businesses that are giving back to their employees and doing tuition reimbursement programs, continuing education as well, because we want to be able to best highlight what businesses can do to really thrive, and growing employees is absolutely one of those top ways to do it. So we are so proud of the college for being our sponsor in this category. Overall, we had 255 businesses locally apply for a Copper Cactus Award, and we are honoring those finalists and award winners on October 1st in all of the different categories. And again, it's really the college demonstrating what it means to give back and engage in those best practices for the long term. So, again, thank you to the college for being so, looking into the future as to things that genuinely are going to have an impact, not only today, but for tomorrow as well.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith, for your collaboration on that and highlighting the work of our employers in partnership with the college. So thank you for bringing that forward and for sharing it with us this evening and the work you do.
Thank you, Chair Klinko.
Okay. Next, we have our governing board recognition and awards. The recognition of the strategic planning team members will be led by Dr. Nick Richmond.
Chair Klinko, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues and guests. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to offer my thanks to the strategic planning team members who have served for the last 2 years and actually continue to serve for the upcoming year. They're very, very lucky people. The planning team has had a lot of work over the last 2 years. So this is a group of people who are responsible for the review of the mission fulfillment framework, gathering input from the community, from employees, from students, and working to craft those statements so we had a strong draft to bring forward for the board's consideration late last year. Building upon that work, they also focused their energy for approximately a year on the development of the new strategic plan, the draft plan, of course, for board approval. Through that work, there has been endless conversations, very difficult conversations on occasion, as we've worked through to be very open and frank with each other, talk about the things that are working well at the institution and bring our different perspectives to those areas through which we could improve, so that through our mission framework, through our strategic plan, we could position ourselves with ambitious targets to fulfill our purpose of transforming lives through affordable education. So I'm going to share a slide with the members of the team, which hopefully you can see now. And I just want to run through this list and highlight the people who've done really all of the legwork and all of the hard work developing those draft documents. We use a stakeholder approach for strategic planning, so we'll also mention the stakeholder group that each one of these individuals represented. We have Joe Brewer, a librarian, one of the representatives selected by a faculty senate, and there are a number of other faculty members here who I will mention. We have Montserrat Caballero, representing Staff Council, Tim Cruz, a biology faculty member, Jim Craig, who's representing the All College Council, Marcy Euler, representing the Pima Foundation, Laurie Kister Joseph, representing Adult Education, Hilda Ladner, representing Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Charlie McConnell from Facilities, Lamata Mitchell for the instructional areas, Ian Rourke for Workforce Development, Marissa Saxton from Student Affairs, Laurie Ann Schultz from Pima Online, Paul Schwalbach, who brought the communication lens to the work we were doing, Kenneth Scott, an accounting faculty member, Anthony Sovak, who the board has had the opportunity to hear from, my wonderful co-chair in this whole process, Daniel Souza from Finance, Tal Sutton, a math faculty member, and last but most definitely not least, Marcy Walkingstick, a director within IT, leading enterprise systems. And so it is with the utmost thanks, let me stop sharing because I can't stop sharing and talk at the same time. I want to extend my thanks to these people who have worked so very hard to ensure that we had strong draft documents to bring to the board's consideration. It is my absolute pleasure to share their names with the board today. And thank you. I know many of them are on the call today, and I know some of them are watching the stream. So personally, thank you to everyone who's been involved.
Thank you, Dr. Richmond. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank each and every one of the team members who brought their expertise and passion and vision and thought to the deliverable and the production of the documents that you brought to us. It was an incredibly smooth process from the board perspective, but I think we really ended with a vision and a way of articulating what our institution is doing that has never been more powerful. So thank you very much to you and every single person on that list for the work that you've contributed to further enhance and advance Pima College.
Way to go. Yay, Dr. Richmond and team.
Any other comments from any of the other board members? Okay. Next, we have our remarks from the governing board. And I'll just go around the room. Mrs. Garcia.
Okay, wait. Okay, oh, I can't do the video. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Oh, you can see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, okay, anyway. So first of all, I just want to start off by saying that I don't want to offend anybody. So please understand. That'll kind of prepare you. Anyway, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize a group of individuals. This group of individuals has been at work every day since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. They never complained. These people, in my opinion, have been ignored and underappreciated by this board and administration. Yet we take credit for your efforts. I also want to thank the previous Vice Chancellor of Facilities for initiating the plans for safeguarding our college community and his teamwork that so diligently worked in carrying out their duties in trying times. Thank you to everyone on the facilities team, including our safety personnel. You can be proud of your team efforts. I am aware and sincerely appreciate all that you do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Ms. Ripley. Your microphone is off.
Okay. My disclaimer is I have no AC in my house. Thank you, fellow board members, faculty, staff, chancellor, administrators, everybody watching. I'm actually very happy to be back after short yet hot and clearly not over summer break. First of all, I wish before I start, I have a lot of people to thank here for what they've done over the summer, as did Ms. Garcia. I wanted to send my deepest thanks to all of the employees that held the fort down, taught classes, maintained our campuses, continued planning and strategizing, all of those things that are done behind the scenes to get through the summer, to get through the last year of COVID and to plan for this fall. A lot of these behind the scenes actions, which we are all extremely grateful for, especially in the lightning speed in which it was conducted. I really want to commend you and thank you all. But I'd also like to send out, lest we forget, and I don't think many people on this call will forget, our deepest sympathies to the family of Jacob Dindiger, whose young life was cut tragically short when he was killed this summer in that horrific shooting in late July. Jacob, one of our beloved EMT students, graduated only a year before he lost his life in the line of duty here in Tucson. As a retired military officer, I cannot express strongly enough the fact that he died a hero, serving his community and doing not only what he was trained and educated to do here at Pima, but doing what he loved. So my deepest sympathies and condolences. But also, just quickly, we had so many things I can't list here that we need to celebrate over the summer. In addition to getting through COVID and surviving, and it's not over yet, a very hot summer and challenging summer, there are things that our faculty and staff and administrators have done, again, behind the scenes without fanfare, that I want to mention, and I can't mention all of them, but there's been so much hard work and attention to detail. First of all, to not only secure, but administer and track the elimination of student debt for 4,500 students. And I'm sure, Chancellor, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I really think it's worth mentioning a few times. It was a tremendous boost for our community, especially those who would not otherwise afford to continue school, let alone pay those debts. I'm also excited for what Dr. Richmond's doing with her team, and especially with what you'll soon see we're doing with the Climate Action Program, something that's extremely important. And I'm really proud that Pima Community College is taking the lead and trying to be perhaps a hub for mitigating climate change in our community. And then there's just so many other things. The Tucson Street Rod Association, who donated $25,000. We did this really cool car show here this summer. the CAD students who brought designs for Habitat for Humanity over the summer, and our ongoing efforts to team with Davis Mothin. I'm speaking at the paramedic EMT graduation next week, and I'm really honored to do that. But there's a lot of cool things that we're doing, and we've got so much more work to do in an extremely challenging fall and going into 2022. Just a few things I wanted to shout out. There's so many more. I apologize if I didn't mention all of the departments because they're all doing cool things in and of themselves. So thank you so much. I'm glad to be back.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ripley. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, good evening, everybody out there that are listening and are attending our board meeting tonight. I just want to acknowledge, as we all know, in this challenging times with the pandemic, acknowledge all those workers that did not only the COVID test, but also did the vaccination efforts out there. I think your commitment to address this pandemic, COVID-19 virus is extraordinary. I know that a lot of you young staff and the nurses and all those people involved, I know it is dangerous. I know that I have what do you call it? One of my daughters is an LPN, and she's also did some of that with the Rio Clinic as well too. But I just want to also acknowledge all the students that did return to on-site class instruction in all the campuses that we have, to be safe and well out there, and especially a great super acknowledgement to all the staff and faculty that are providing those on-site instructions to our young people. I do have a couple of my grandkids that have returned for the second year for Pima, and I know they love Pima and they'll continue to be there. But there's only two of many of the young people out there in what the college has to offer to us, to the community, but to Pima County. But I really want to say that thank you for making that commitment and believing in the PCC college, but more important, utilizing and capitalizing in reference to what's available on the opportunities through Pima Community College at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Dr. Hay.
Thank you. I just wanted to say welcome back to the students, the faculty, and the staff, and I will echo the comments of the previous board members, and congratulations to all the hard work that everybody has put forward this summer. Thank you and welcome back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hay. I also want to welcome everybody back. You know, we really do understand and know the incredible amount of work and the complexity that the pandemic has created in everybody's individual work environment. And we, as a board, are really appreciative of everything you are doing to help with making sure that student success remains a priority for this institution day in and day out. And that's everybody from facilities to in the classroom, from our police to the contractors who are making sure that our facilities are cleaned on a daily basis. Everybody who is involved in helping to deliver the high quality education, we are so appreciative of everything you are doing. And we know that it is complex and that it is fatiguing, and it is for, I think, everyone. So we are aware, and we're really appreciative for all of your incredible work. I also want to just again underscore the $2.7 million debt forgiveness that the board was able to authorize. I think that's a huge thing that we were able to do to really help students who are really facing very difficult choices about their future and whether to continue with school. And so I'm just so thrilled that Chancellor Lambert and the team were able to bring that forward and that the board was able to take swift action to deliver that. I also just want to note that the Arizona Association of Community College Trustees held a summit 2 weeks ago, and it was in partnership with the AC4, which is a single representative from each of the community colleges who have been elected by their boards, and all of the board presidents had a convening to talk about the upcoming legislature and legislative priorities that are facing all of the different colleges across the state. I certainly learned a lot about what's going on at other community colleges. I know it's very easy to end up in our Pima Community College silo, but to hear the similarities and the differences that other colleges are going through and ways that they've been able to overcome some of their challenges during this period has been really inspiring. And I'm hopeful we can begin to discuss some of those strategies. And finally, I just want to encourage all of our employees and our students to get vaccinated. Since our last meeting, the Pfizer vaccine has been fully authorized by the FDA. So if you haven't been vaccinated, please go and do that. Your safety has been a priority for this board. We have, from the very beginning, really tried to underscore and give direction to Chancellor Lambert that health and safety needed to be the #1 priority. But we also were reliant on everybody else to take action to help with that initiative, because high tides in this case will rise all ships. So please get out and get vaccinated if you haven't. Okay, and that concludes my comments. Next, we have our administrative reports. The first is we're going to be changing our format a little than we have in years past, and I'm going to give Chancellor Lambert a little opportunity to sort of do an introduction and talk about this. But during our retreat over the summer, we talked about how we could more effectively use this time to really tease at the issues that are facing the college and really inform the board and the public about the things that we are facing and sort of these big picture issues. So Chancellor Lambert, do you want to give a little preliminary introduction?
I'd be glad to, Mr. Chair. So we're very pleased to be able to present to the board a number of issues and be able to do a deeper dive at the regular board meeting, in addition to our normal study session format. So what you're going to see is probably 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most during the administrative report section, but with a little bit more deeper dive and allow the board to engage us more around key topics. A lot of it's going to center around enrollment and student success for obvious reasons. This meeting, we're very pleased to talk about enrollment, and we're going to have Dr. David Doré here in a moment give you an update on the great work that's been done leading up to the beginning of fall. And David may even touch on what some of our future plans are as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, David, to take us through the enrollment focus presentation.
Thank you, Chancellor, and good evening, Chair Klinko, members of the governing board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, guests, and students. This evening, I'd like to provide a brief overview of the current status of enrollment at the college for fall 2021, and then provide an update on our short-term strategic enrollment management plan activities. So to begin, the college has been experiencing enrollment declines over the past several years, and the decline was only intensified by the impact of the pandemic on our community and our students. And the effects of the pandemic have continued to impact many of our learners with economic, medical, family, housing, and employment hardships that prevent enrollment. And so this first slide presents our enrollment data as of August 30th, which shows approximately a 5% decline in our enrollment since last fall. Now, since these numbers take a snapshot of the same time last year, they will continue to change. For example, the daily registration report from Strategy Analytics and Research from STAR indicates that as of today, our headcount percentage is actually looking a little better. We're down 4.71% decline from this time last year. So we're going to continue to see this change. I also want to point out to the board that there are areas of the college that are not included in these numbers. So these numbers do not reflect dual enrollment. And I'm going to talk a little bit about dual enrollment in a few minutes. They don't reflect adult basic education or our full year term workforce and training programs. Now, in terms of demographic trends, we're not seeing any significant change in our fall 2021 distribution based on race and ethnicity as compared to last fall. We are just over 47% Hispanic Latino as our largest demographic population. Additionally, there has not been a significant change in enrollment by gender. We report around 40 points, right? I think right now it's 40.7 for males and about 57.84% who identify as females. So our next slide is from the National Student Clearinghouse, showing that U.S. community colleges as a whole experienced double-digit declines during the pandemic and were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic in terms of enrollment. Now, this data here is from spring 2021, and the clearinghouse data for the fall is not yet available, but we'll certainly be tracking that. Now, in terms of fall 2021 enrollment for Arizona community colleges, the official enrollment numbers have not yet been reported. However, we have some unofficial reports, and the data is mixed. You know, for some colleges, Arizona colleges are actually reporting increases. So Central Arizona College, for example, they rolled out a free college initiative and their enrollment is up. Other Arizona colleges are reporting decreases in enrollment compared to last fall. Dr. B, for example, he spoke with his counterparts and spoke with one of his counterparts at Maricopa, and Maricopa is reporting unofficially that they're down around 15% compared to this time last fall. I also met with Dustin Williams, the Pima County School Superintendent, last Friday to gain some insight into overall issues at our K-12s in Pima County. And Superintendent Williams shared that some K-12 districts were down as much as 9% last academic year. And fortunately, he said, we're now seeing a bounce back in K-12 enrollment. And Superintendent Williams is looking forward to continuing our roundtable discussions, which we'll have in the fall with the K-12 superintendents and principals to discuss collaborative strategies and initiatives to support our high school students transitioning to PCC. Now, what I'd like to do next is to highlight some of the initiatives of the college to address our declining enrollment. So the college has instituted a one-year short-term institutional plan to identify, recruit, enroll, retain, and graduate students. And there are some key strategies from this short-term plan the college is continuing to build on, and I just want to go over some of those strategies with you. One is to engage with students who stopped attending. So our marketing and outreach department, for example, reached out to 40,000 stop-out students through email, text, and web ads. And that campaign generated just under 1,900 responses of students who asked for, or potential students who asked for more information. Likewise, Student Affairs proactively reached out to 8,325 students who applied to the college but did not register. And of that number, 2,831 students have registered for classes. So that was about 34% of the students that they reached out to. Another key strategy is to address the students' financial barriers to enrollment. And many of the board members talked about the fact that the college has forgiven $2.7 million in student debt for 4,500 students. And then we're continuing to distribute HERF funds directly to students as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to track those 4,500 students because we're starting to track now and to see how many of those students actually will re-enroll in the college. So we'll certainly be keeping the board abreast of the effectiveness of that initiative. Another initiative is, of course, marketing and outreach to students in our community. And so the college launched a 278,000 fall marketing campaign and also a social media and a number of community outreach events as well. Another key component of enrollment is, of course, retention and student support initiatives. And so we have continued to further strengthen those wraparound student support and retention initiatives. And want to give some examples of initiatives we've implemented there. We hired additional student success coaches. And these are students that really provide extra support, very high touch support to those students who most need it. And we piloted that and we found that to be very effective. And so we've increased the number of those coaches for the fall. Likewise, we added another full-time student success faculty member for the fall as well. We've continued the lending of laptops and tablets to students to help keep them on their pathways. We're offering a student wellness assistance program with free counseling services because we're finding students are having a number of mental health and anxiety and stress issues that they're dealing with. We're continuing the work of the Breaking Student Barriers Task Force. We're continuing to support the student food pantries. We've implemented a Pima Connect, which embeds academic success coaches who are part of the support team for students. And then we've offered a free counseling service. I think I already mentioned that. And then we're continuing to plan for childcare options. We now are in the development of an agreement for a provider to provide childcare services to launch at the Desert Vista campus in the summer of 2022. As retention is essential to enrollment, the provost is going to go into much more depth on our retention initiatives at next month's board meeting as well. Now, the other initiative is to expand academic offerings, particularly in those high demand areas and around our centers of excellence. And so the college has continued the development of our centers of excellence and their programs in the key sectors. And the good news is that these areas have seen increases in enrollment compared to the fall of last year. So I'll give some examples. We've just opened a brand new automotive center. Our automotive enrollment is actually up 117% over fall 2020. Our information technology and cybersecurity is up 6% from fall 2020. And they had a big jump last fall as well. Hospitality leadership is up about 31% over fall last year. So, and we're now in the early phases of the COE expansion projects in public safety and security at East Campus, and then the health professions at West Campus as well. Dual enrollment is an area that we have seen substantial growth over the last 4 to 5 years. And we're up about 75% over last year. Last year we had 490 sections. Already in the fall, we have 600 sections, and we're estimating that we'll have 700 sections by the end of the year. And particularly dual credit and CTE courses is substantially up from about 484 students in 2017 to 1,850 students currently. Now, I just want to highlight just some of the partnerships. The intergovernmental agreement with the Pasquayaki is in place, and a group of us visited the Hohokam site, which will be housing the tribe's educational programming in addition to their education center. And so Pima is exploring having an education extension center there in partnership with the tribe, which will house some CTE programs and general education support courses in addition to our online and virtual classes. We're also developing a liberal arts pathway with the tribe for dual enrollment to PCC. Another example of a partnership I'd like to cite is the Bank of America Jobs Initiative, which is really helping students complete their education and enter the workforce with a particular focus on disadvantaged students. And with the support of Bank of America, we're using funds to accelerate the development and implementation of the micro pathways and opportunities in areas of manufacturing, IT, construction, logistics, and emergency services. And these programs, we believe, will address many of the skills gaps to create pathways to higher paying jobs for our students. And lastly, as an example from academics, our health science programs have engaged with partners to meet workforce needs. They have nearly 700 students in 19 health services programs, which is an increase from last year. And the health sciences programs have worked with El Rio, Banner, and other hospitals to develop grow your own programs and are discussing numerous other programs as well. In terms of where we go from here, the college will continue working throughout the fall to address enrollment and provide needed student support services. Our late classes are beginning this month, and that could positively impact our enrollment. And so there is a proactive outreach and marketing for these late start classes. There's also an email and text campaign to re-enroll those 4,500 students who had their debt forgiven. Marketing is also launching a campaign for the new micro pathways this month. We're also still developing student support services where those needs have arisen throughout the pandemic. And then we'll continue developing partnerships. The workforce development team has been working to expand tuition reimbursement and employer-supported student enrollment. And so we're going to continue to really focus on that. And the college has already initiated budget discussions and financial strategies to address our declines in enrollment. And we continue to invest in program areas of high demand, such as healthcare and IT and cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, aviation, and others. And finally, in the long term, to continue to address enrollment, we will begin the development of the 2022-2026 Strategic Enrollment Management Plan starting this fall. And the short-term SEMP has been a collaborative effort between multiple areas of the college. And we know that every college department and every employee plays a valuable role in supporting enrollment, retention, and completion. And so I'm now happy to answer any questions that the board may have. And we also have key members of student affairs, academic affairs, marketing, and outreach teams as panelists to answer any questions you may have.
Dr. DeRay, thank you so much for that comprehensive outline of the work that's being done. I'm really impressed, and I have some more detailed questions, but I first want to go to some of the board members who have their hands raised. So we're going to start with Dr. Hay and then Ms. Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. DeRay. Just for my own education and maybe those on the call. So as enrollments haven't quite bounced back, obviously not just here, but nationally, where are these people going? Are they going into the workforce? Are they are they going somewhere else? Who are we competing with?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question and one that we're certainly exploring. And we're finding, at least in Arizona, there are some differences between kind of the urban larger districts and some of the rural districts. So I think there's multiple factors, but certainly one is that there's a shortage of workers across the board, and I'm thinking that some of our students or potential students and previous students may be working 2 and 3 jobs. I think that would be one. So I think we're competing with employers right now as well. And I don't know if anybody from the team wants to add anything.
Ms. Garcia?
I guess my question is, Dr. DeRay, enrollment has declined approximately, would you say, for the last 5 years, what's the total percentage of decline in enrollment?
So we've declared, and I'm kind of going back again. There's different numbers that we can look at. We can look at head count, we can look at FTSE, we can look at overall enrollment.
Let's just look at FTSE.
For the most part, we've seen for the past 5 years, in the fall of 2019, we were a little, we were somewhat flat. In the spring of 2017, we were actually up a little, but we have been down pretty much every, so I'll just kind of go through some. I think we were down probably around, again, I'm just ballparking, so please don't quote me, probably 6% in 2016. We're down like around 2% in 2017, probably 4% in 2018, then we were kind of flat in 2019, and then we took that big hit in 2020, right? And then, now not as much, but I definitely, I don't know if David Ariano wants to give the total number, or Nick.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Total number in terms of like the overall declines from last 5
like
years?
over 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that piece of data in front of me, but we'll consult with our strategy and analytics team and get that information.
It looks like David.
the reason-
It looks like David B raised his hand, so he may have some salient information.
Okay.
It's over the last 5 years, it's down about 25%, and about 18 of that happened due as a result of the pandemic. So it was sort of slow, flat, slow decline, and then big drop off.
The reason that I asked that question is that, I know that the pandemic had a big effect on what's going on right now. And there's also been a couple of, the decline in birth rates. But I think that in trying to do the enrollment, to trying to increase it and retain students, we have to go back and understand why those things happened. It's your guys' job to do that so that we can keep the college going. But the other part that I wanted to ask, the other thing that I wanted to ask was, how do you identify students that need additional services? Do they come to you, or do you reach out to them?
Yes, board member Garcia, one of the things is we have what we call an early alert program. And I mentioned that Pima Connect program, which is part of not just student affairs, but academics, Jeff Thies's team and so forth. And so what we do is we work with faculty, we work with our student support services to identify those students who are vulnerable. And so, I mentioned the academic success coaches that we've hired. Those success coaches then get embedded with those students that we believe are going to need more support services. So it's really both, right? So any student can reach out for that support, but we also proactively reach out to those students to provide those extra services to them.
Okay, then one other thing that, like I said, again, it's your guys' job. I don't know. I'm just saying what I think. But when I ask for disaggregate information, okay, and I could be wrong, but I believe that in certain parts of the city, there's people or students that are dropping out or not attending, taking an opportunity to get educated within certain areas. And I think that we need to focus, I'd like to see the numbers with the specific areas, not so much like all the Hispanics, Latinos, or, Native Americans, but overall within sections of the city. I think it would help us to identify how we can try to reach them. Anyway, that's all I have to say. But
I think
thank you for your information.
I think that's excellent. And board member Garcia, I think one of the ways that we can really, I think, take that approach is working with the K-12 districts, because many of our districts are obviously some of which have more significant challenges than others. And so I think that's something that we're doing, working proactively with each of the K-12 districts. And again, some have more, I think, if you will, vulnerable students.
And then one last thing for David Ariano. Are you guys working? Are you gonna be working with the 8th graders? Because now when they come into as freshmen, they're gonna be able to dual enroll. Have you considered that? And I'm done.
Yeah, we've definitely considered it, board member Garcia. So in partnership with like the United Way Cradle to Career, that's where we're partnering with not only like your traditional high school, but like looking further downstream to say, how do we get that college going culture earlier on? So yeah, we're definitely having those discussions.
Thank you.
Board member Garcia, you're spot on, because we need to recruit the 7th and 8th graders into the dual enrollment freshman classes. So that really, especially now that we can expand the 9th grade, that's definitely going to be a very valuable strategy.
Ms. Ripley. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Garcia, and thank you, Dr. Duray. Ms. Ripley.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Duray and your team for this extremely comprehensive overview of what you've been doing behind the scenes. It's excellent, and I love that you're looking. There's no stone unturned. So thank you for that. And I really would like to acknowledge all the work that all of the teams have been doing to get dual enrollment up 75% from last year. And this has been ongoing. I mean, it just keeps increasing every year. So that's an enormous success, and I think it's going to continue. And one of the things I wanted to mention that I actually just recently learned is that for the viewing audience, most of the community colleges do not pay for that dual enrollment. We soak up that cost at Pima community colleges, and most schools don't. So the double-edged sword is that we're getting more students in through dual enrollment, but we're soaking up that cost. So there's pots of money that have to address that, but we're happy to do that. So that's excellent. And again, the Earn to Learn career, Cradle to Career, where I know we're teaming with those guys. You just keep doing what you're doing. I love that you've reached out to all of those students. What was it, like 45,000 students? You got emails. I mean, this is exactly what you're doing. You're doing all the hard work, which takes, I can't imagine all of the time and the resources and the people power that took to do this. So thank you for that as well. And one thing I just wanted to address that Ms. Garcia brought up is, I'm no expert, but I did read some articles on this, like why is enrollment down? It is indeed across the nation. I'm not, discounting, why Pima Community College in particular's enrollment has been going down every year, but it is nationwide. And one of the articles I read, and you can expound on it at some other point, is the fact that we are in this delayed effect, weirdly enough, still from the 2008-2009 Great Recession. It does take that long, and it's taken 10 years for us to wake up and realize, wow, this is precisely, COVID is a microcosm of what's been really happening over the last 10 years, which is, like you said, people are working 1, 2, 3, 4 jobs to make ends meet, and it's a domino effect where they can't go to school. Even if they get their tuition paid, they still can't afford to not work. So this is something that I'm glad your team is addressing, and we can see how we can help our community out. But other than that, I mean, you're doing some Herculean work here. So thank you, David, Dr. Duray, for doing that. I think those are all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ripley. Okay, I have a couple questions. So one, is there a way we can ramp up our early college programs, and how are those affected by the pandemic? I think about the Vail program that was on our East Campus. I'm sure the pandemic affected how that's being delivered. So, and you don't have to, I mean, you could provide a little bit more detail offline too, but that's one. Two would be in Yavapai Community College, they pioneered this sort of innovative idea of offering a free class to every resident of the entire county, since it's the county's college. I really love that idea. It's helped move their enrollment. How that will affect long-term enrollment, not clear, but it did have a short-term effect. And they, and then weighing that against the costs. And then could you also tell us a little bit what program, you gave us some highlights of some amazing programs that are doing really well, but could you tell us some of the programs that are most impacted by the pandemic?
Yes, Chair Klink, I'd be happy to answer those questions, and I'll start with your first one, and I'll ask James Palacios to please chime in. So while we're doing really, really well in dual enrollment, the pandemic did slow down our early college initiatives. We had some pretty ambitious plans about launching early college at many of our campuses, and that was all put on hold as a result of the pandemic. And so, James, do you want to share any of your insights there?
Yeah, so the discussions are starting back up again, but now that we have the 9th and 10th grade eligible to take dual enrollment courses, a lot of the discussion is around how do we establish early college in a different modality. So in other words, on high school sites and on the community college. So how do we intermix both? So right now, that's what the discussion is. We're picking that back up. So we should be hopefully working around trying to develop our early college concept here real soon.
Thank you very much. It looks like Chancellor Lambert, you have your hand raised.
No, so, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to just elaborate on a few points that have been made, but I'd rather wait till David answers all the other questions, and then I can come back and elaborate on
Okay.
some of them. So David.
So yeah, and just so you know, the Vail Early College program has been, because of the pandemic, is down about half. So they normally have about 90 students, and I think they're at 45. James, I think Nina let me know that. So definitely the pandemic is making I think the K-12 is concerned about bringing students on our campuses. The second question, I think it was more of a suggestion, which I love, Chair Klinko, a free class, and I certainly would champion that if my colleagues are championing that as well. And then in terms of areas that we're seeing declines, we are seeing some declines in our sciences, and it's a complex of a lot of reasons, and I'll ask Dolores or Lamada to chime in as well. And then some of our, Dolores, in fact, I'll just defer to you on some of the specific areas.
Sure. So good afternoon or good evening, everyone. As far as our low enrollments, the sciences seems to be in a complex situation. And there are various reasons. There's some areas that the face-to-face increased in enrollment and some that didn't. And some of it has to do with the Delta variant and our faculty, adjunct faculty in particular, who felt hesitant about coming back face-to-face, that fear. And so some of these classes had to be moved to the virtual and online realm. But we did several surveys with students and student forums in the spring, and we asked them what modality would they like to see more for the fall semester. And many said face-to-face. So we opened up 30% of our classes, about 30% this fall, and they didn't fill. And we think it's because of the Delta variant that has caused an impact and fear. So, but we will continue to see if we can open a little bit more for the next semester, for the spring semester, but being very strategic and right sizing and basing it on what the student needs are. We also want to look at classes that are more focused with a center of excellence, depending on the campus. So students don't have to drive from one campus to another campus on the other side of town, and they can take all of their classes at one campus. We've also seen a decline in the social sciences areas, but the deans and Lamada and I are looking very closely at the scheduling and again, talking to students. Today, we had a forum with students and faculty and staff, and the students were saying that they really liked the virtual classes because either having to take care of children or elderly parents or their work schedule, they really like the virtual and online. So we're getting a mixed reaction from our students of what modality they prefer. But of course, we want to make sure that we have options available for all students. So yeah, so those are part of the reasons. It's a balancing act that we're working on. And Lamada, I don't know if you have anything else to add as well.
Well, I really appreciate it. And I know we're a little short on time and we have to move on to the rest of the agenda, but I do want to, one, articulate clear support for exploring this idea around a free class and whether that's something that is viable, whether that fits into our budget modeling, and whether it's something that we could do if possible. So if we could just look at that, I would love to hear back. Second, are there additional, I think I would really support additional supports for those programs that are seeing the most significant declines in terms of what we can do to really strategically focus on increasing enrollment back up in those key areas. I mean, it's amazing to hear, and congratulations to the programs that are doing really well. I was really so glad to hear the hospitality leadership has seen such significant increases. We've heard so loud and clear from the hospitality and restaurant industry that they're in desperate need of employees. So it's great to hear that, and congratulations to Jewel and her the work that she's doing in that whole program. But again, those are my thoughts. And is there any final closing remarks from any of the other board members before we move on?
Thank you, David.
Yeah, yes,
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, yes,
Mr. Chair.
Chancellor Lambert. Ms. Garcia has one final comment, and then we'll go to Chancellor Lambert.
So, thank you, David, for your team for doing such a great job. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Board Member Garcia. And I want to acknowledge the team. They're the ones that have done all the work. So thank you to the team.
Chancellor Lambert.
So I want to thank David and his team. And I think what you're hearing is, and I think it goes back to Board Member Ripley's point, right? If you look at where Pima is comparatively speaking, the declines that we've experienced are more in line with what you're seeing across the country. So this is much deeper than just Pima Community College and our community here. I think the issue has a lot to do with the types of students we're in service to. And as many community colleges are in service to low income disadvantaged populations, I think this is why the free community college piece is becoming so essential as part of the conversation to address that. So it's a systemic problem is my point. I think what you're seeing in terms of especially the humanities and liberal arts area, there has been a decades-long decline in enrollment in these areas. So this is not unique to Pima. It's something we've got to look at and rethink the liberal arts in this new reality. And because what you're seeing on the Center of Excellence side is an example of this, right? We retooled those areas, and what are we starting to see? Enrollments are going up. We've modernized, we've integrated more technology, we've made sure we're supporting the faculty with professional development and built partnerships, and those are recovering very nicely. So I think all of those come into play. And then we have to remember, there's increased competition now. The Tucson market is being inundated by colleges and universities. And so we have to face that reality. We have SNU here, Southern New Hampshire, one of the largest mega universities, ASU, another mega university, Grand Canyon, another mega, and you can go down the line, right? We've been attracting the mega universities into this market. And so we have to not lose sight of the competition. I think that's why this focus on micro pathways and really getting into the employer workplace is going to become important, making it easier for a worker to want to be a student. So these are all the things we're working through. And I'll hit this last piece. I think we have to carefully look at this whole free class versus our budget piece, because when you look at enrollment, some colleges are doing this because they need to get their expenditure limit up. And so to do that, you've got to get more students. But the trade-off is you're collecting less tuition and fees. So we're constantly straddling those two pieces. And the advantage they have that we don't have is they get state support. We get no state support. So we would be essentially giving up another revenue source, which they have and we don't have. So Dave's looking at all of this. By the way, Dave B is following up on this to look at how we might see what we can do. I just want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving on to our reports by representatives of the board. Each member has 5 minutes. Because we're getting tight on time, I'll just give you a 30-second heads up when you're sort of running to the end of the time. The first report is from our adjunct faculty representative, Sean Mendoza. Mr. Mendoza.
Hello, can you guys hear me all right?
You can.
All right. I love modern technology when it works, right? So Chairman Klinko, Chancellor Lambert, members of the board and honored guests, with the fall semester in full swing, adjunct faculty are excited to once again reconnect with the students. We appreciate the board's continued focus on safety of our students, faculty, and staff. And in doing so, adjunct faculty feel we can stay more focused on the success of our students. We're also looking forward to engaging with the administration on a variety of different topics that can make a significant impact in instruction, namely professional development for adjunct faculty. So we're pretty excited about that. And I do look forward to providing a report on this and on other future items in the months to come. Thank you for your time, and this ends my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mendoza. Next, we have our faculty report with Denise Riley. Ms. Riley, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Ooh, I'm bright, sorry. Does that mean I get to soak up Sean's extra time? I'm just joking. Good evening, Chair Klinko, board members, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, and guests. My name is Denise Riley, and I'm your new Faculty Senate Board of Governors representative. I am student success faculty, and I've been lucky enough to be guided by former Representative Brooke Anderson. I've been a faculty senator for several years, most recently as faculty senate secretary, and began as an adjunct faculty for the college in 2004. I'm also a Phi Theta Kappa advisor and have spent the last several years in student affairs as a career counselor and ed support faculty counselor, and have spent the last 22 years in Tucson in public education. I look forward to serving you in this new role. Just a few points that I made in the Board of Governing report that I'd like to share is that we have some newly elected positions mentioned in the board report, and probably of most importance is our new Faculty Senate President, Rita Lennon, who's instructional faculty for clinical research. A summary of some of the items shared for the Board of Governing report. The Teaching Strategies Workshop was held in August in multiple modalities and was a success. And another successful event for faculty by the Teaching and Learning Center and the Faculty Senate Systemic Justice Action Committee began today, actually. And the virtual all college, we've heard the term before, was called the Unteaching and Unlearning Summit for the first time. And as of early this afternoon, we had 125 faculty, students, administrators, and staff RSVP, and each session is averaging between 30 and 45 participants so far today. And it goes on for the next 2 days. I had the privilege of co-presenting in an afternoon session with a colleague this afternoon, and I was delightfully surprised and happy to see so many students and faculty in attendance. So I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that with a future report. I will continue. One of Brooke's great insights was to share notable accomplishments by faculty in our next report. And I'd like to just close with, on behalf of the Faculty Senate, I'd like to close with this statement discussed in our last Faculty Senate meeting, as this will likely be a standing item each month. So here's the statement, and then that'll be my time. Faculty senators are approached more frequently by our colleagues and constituents regarding employee pay at the college. We understand that finances are especially volatile given the depressed levels of enrollment college-wide and the ongoing pandemic, but faculty senators are concerned with the current allocation of funds. The Faculty Senate is interested in hearing from faculty colleagues on the Class and Comp Faculty Steering Committee, having Faculty Senate officers collaborate during their administrative meetings with members of the ELT, and exploring how faculty, staff, and administration can work together on how to allocate funds in ways that will optimize academic excellence and student success. And with that, I thank you very much for allowing me to be the newbie here, but not really new for a long. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report, and welcome aboard. We really look forward to getting to know you better each month. Next, we have Jeff Thies with our administrative report.
Good evening. Happy International Literacy Day. Chairperson Klinko, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, guests, and students. This is the administrative report for September. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about a group that were accepted into the third cohort of the Gardner Institute's Equity and Retention Academy this summer. Amanda Abens, Jackie Allen, Oslam Katsira, Hilda Ladner, and myself spent time throughout 5 weeks in July and August in the initial phase of the academy work with subject matter experts from the Gardner Institute and peers from other colleges in the cohort. The efforts of those 5 weeks will help support not only the Barriers Task Force, but also the new SIMP and several other equity initiatives throughout the college. Some other notable pieces of information. We have a Fulbright Scholar. So the Hospitality Leadership Team is pleased to welcome its first ever Fulbright Scholar in Residence, Chef Patricia Mejia Cairo from the Dominican Republic. Her passion for food and the hospitality industry led her to study culinary arts. Chef Patricia joined the culinary world with Mausi Cebes Cooking School in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She completed her studies and graduated as a culinary arts and pastry and bakery professional in 2009. She has been a chef instructor since 2015, having taught at the Instituto Técnico Superior Comunitario and the Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre y Maestra. Gracias, Jefe, for that one. Lamada Mitchell and Edgar Soto selected to be the Aspen Rising President's Fellowship. They've been selected to participate in the 2021 and 2022 Aspen Rising President's Fellowship. Fellows were selected through a rigorous process that considered their abilities to take strategic risks, lead strong teams, and cultivate partnerships. The Aspen Institute engages a select group of fellows each year in this intensive applied executive leadership program. Congratulations, Lamada and Edgar. And next, our provost, Dolores Duran Cerda, was voted to be on the National Phi Beta Kappa Senate, one of the most prestigious academic honor societies. The Senate is selected by the Triennial Council, a representative group of members convened every 3 years to carry out the business of the society. Congratulations, Dolores. And last on the award front is the Helping Hand Award. Stephen Ebel from the Curriculum Quality Improvement team received the Helping Hand Award for helping other colleges create assessment dashboards and their assessment data. After sharing our general education dashboards at other forums, other colleges from around the country asked Stephen for his assistance in configuring the system that we use for assessment. Excellent collegiality, Stephen. And last but not least, the pandemic response efforts. It has taken a village. Many of the college's employees work to provide guidance and recommendations, continuously adjusting our return to campus and work sites and the start of the fall semester. Though there are too many employees to acknowledge individually, both the Pandemic Advisory Group and the Mass Protocol Group were instrumental in recommending and implementing plans and protocols for the fall. Thank you for everybody that participated on those teams for your leadership and effort. And that concludes my administrative report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thies. Now we have our staff report with Michael Lopez. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, a brief report. Chairman Klinko, governing board members, Chancellor Lambert, community members, colleagues, and guests. I want to announce our newly elected Staff Council officers. Staff Council Vice Chair Dorothy Netherland, Staff Council Secretary Erica Martin, Staff Council Communications Officer Christopher Rodriguez, and Staff Council Roll Keeper Charlie McConnell. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone's efforts to get through these difficult times, and it's good to see that everyone is doing that. So thank you. I think you're
muted, Damien.
Thank you very much. I also thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. We appreciate the update. I also just want to take a moment to welcome our student representative, Colin Bryant, who is on the call but is not presenting this evening. So welcome, Mr. Bryant. We look forward to hearing your perspective on the issues facing the students' body. Next is our Chancellor's report. Chancellor Lambert.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I'd like to first start out and say thank you all for the incredible work you have done throughout the past year and leading to getting us started for the fall. I know it's not the fall we were hoping, and who knew that the Delta variant would have the kind of impact it's having on our community and on our college. So your patience and your perseverance is much appreciated. And I also want to recognize, the board last year, you recognized our employees with the Striving Beyond Award, and I really appreciate the fact that you have gone to recognize the effort that our employees have put in for the success of our students in our college. And I look forward to the board continuing that level of appreciation. Also, just want to thank Nick's team. Nick, you thanked everybody. I want to say thank you. Thanks to your leadership, along with Anthony's and the whole group, we have a new strategic plan. It's much better than the one we had before. Not that the one before wasn't bad. This is even a newly enhanced, improved version. So thank you for that. And I want to thank the pandemic team as well, the advisory team. Thanks to their combined leadership, we have weathered the storm really well to this date. I'll share just a few quick data points. To this date, we have only had 3 hospitalizations of Pima employees, resulting in just 1 death. I mean, it's never good to, say, positive things when people die, but also recognize that we've done a really solid job of managing this crisis. And I look forward to us continuing to do that. And I echo your words, Mr. Chair. Please, if you've not been vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. That is our single best way, not only for ourselves, but to protect our friends, family, and loved ones, and colleagues, and our students. Also, just want to acknowledge and thank you, Board Member Ripley, for doing this, Jacob Dindinger. What folks may not realize about Jacob, he was in he started with the college pre-pandemic and his learning was interrupted, but he didn't give up. He's the kind of student that is really a model student for all students, but really for all employees. He came back and he persevered and he got his EMT training completed at PCC. It's so unfortunate what happened, but I think we should remember him as someone who really exemplifies what it is to commit to one's future. And for that, I just want to thank the PSI faculty and staff for the great work they do in supporting the Jacobs and so many other students who end up working in our community and being EMTs and paramedics and police officers, firefighters, etc. Also, want to recognize the work of Bruce Moses and his team, along with our curriculum quality improvement team. They have helped guide us through the monitoring reports we had to submit to the Higher Learning Commission. We are moving well forward, and we've done a complete turnaround, but that would not happen without Dr. Moses and his team, and just everybody, Wendy Weeks, Dr. Weeks, and others. So I just want to acknowledge that. And I'll be glad to just send this little brief executive summary that summarizes some of that work. I believe we sent you all that reports that came back from the HLC as well. Just want to thank TEP for their incredible partnership in recognizing us with the Go Green Award. Thank Amber Smith and the Tucson Metro Chamber for their incredible partnership. We're so honored to be able to be one of the hosts for one of the awards and recognition events coming up. And I could just go on and on. I think Board Member Ripley really laid out some of the great accomplishments that have happened recently over the summer, and really as we were moving through the balance of the year. And there's so much more. There is so much good going on at Pima that we could fill up board meetings just discussing that. And I want us not to lose sight of that part of the equation. Sometimes what we talk about are the things that have yet to be done or need to be done. Let's not forget the things that we have done, and they've been great things. And we've come a long way. Our Pima Community College, your Pima Community College, we are seen as one of the nationwide leaders for a number of areas. We're really on the forefront of advocating for free community college. They're asking our advice and our perspective and helping shape that as it goes forward. And so we should be very proud of that. The fact that we are taking a data and evidence approach to things, Class Comp is an example of that. Looking forward to sharing those, the data and evidence from that work. I want to thank Hilda. We just completed our DEI climate assessment. We'll look forward to, at some point, sharing that out. Overall, it's positive news, but there's room to improve and grow there. but we'll look forward to sharing that and so many other things. So again, welcome back. Look forward to the start of this new year. And we're looking forward to working with each and every one of you to continue to move Pima forward in a very positive way to impact our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Lambert. Our information items are posted on the agenda, and we won't go through them any longer, but you can find them there. Next, we have our consent agenda, which is a grouping of all of the items which have been posted on the agenda with links to all of the detail. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. On to the action items. The first is the consideration of the board self-assessment 2020 to 2021. Mr. Sylvan, do you want to read the recommendation from the Chancellor?
Glad to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Chancellor recommends that the governing board approve the report on the 2020 through 21 board self-assessment.
Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Is there any discussion from members of the board? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Next, we have the consideration of the governing board priorities, 2021-2022. Mr. Sylvan, would you read the recommendation?
Chancellor recommends that the governing board approve the proposed list of board strategic priorities for 2021 through 2022.
Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Okay, sounds like Ms. Ripley moved. Is there a second?
Yep.
Okay, second from Dr. Hay. Discussion, are there any comments or conversation from the members of the board?
I'd like to know,
Yes.
I'd like to know if I mean, I could have, you know, I'm okay with what's there, but can we add other stuff later on?
Sure,
Do we need to?
I absolutely think that it is completely appropriate to, you know, what if we every 3 months, we actually maybe publicly visit this document and see how we're doing? And if we need to add or amend, you know, this came out directly from the from our retreat.
Okay.
And board member Ripley captured the information and from our discussion and actually typed up this document. So this is our own board generated priorities and goals. And so I think it is absolutely appropriate to revisit, see how we're doing, and then add or change based on how that's going. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay, Andrea, if we can just make sure that we get it onto the calendar, agenda calendar moving forward. And maybe we could do it every 4 months, so we're hearing it quarterly. That's good. Okay. Okay, so any other discussion or questions?
No.
Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Next is consideration of the Chancellor's evaluation 2020 through 2021. Mr. Sullivan, could you read the recommendation?
The Chancellor recommends the governing board approve its report on the Chancellor's 2020 through 2021 evaluation.
Do I have a motion to adopt the recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Is there a discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the recommendation signify by saying no.
No.
Okay, the MASH motion passes 3-1 with board member Garcia and Gonzalez voting in opposition. Next is the consideration of the
I want to make a comment.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, please go ahead.
I just want to make a comment in reference to the goals. I really believe that
So wait, so if Mr. Gonzalez, why don't we open we'll open the item and then we'll have the discussion on the goals since that's the next item.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item is the consideration of the Chancellor's annual goals, objectives, and timeline 2021 to 2022. Mr. Sylvan, could you read the recommendation?
Chancellor recommends that the governing board approve the Chancellor's annual goals, objectives, and timelines for 2021 to 2022.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Gonzalez, please go ahead.
As I mentioned, in reference to the goals and the, I read it thoroughly, but I think I have questions. I strongly believe as a board member, I think all of us should have a input in reference to the finalization. As I read through the board docs, it still showed up as a draft. But I strongly believe that Chancellor's goals, not only we should have each of us should have an input, but also I think the public should have an input in reference to Chancellor's goals as well too, because I think they're the people that got elected us, but they also need to know what is going on with Pima. Are we going the right direction? Are we not going the right direction? And those are the as I mentioned before, and I will say it again, those are the stakeholders. Stakeholders that have the right to know, but more important, have the right and an opportunity to have input. But that's one of the things that I want to express in reference to my my concern. That's not a major one, but I think I was neglected to have an opportunity. But also, I think the stakeholders should have an opportunity as well too, in reference to what is the plan for Chancellor's goals. The last thing I just want to say is, I know the majority of it's how he's going to do the work, but more important, it needs to be quantifiable in reference to the check and balances. I'll give you an example. It is within the goals as well too, but addressing enrollment. It's nothing new. We've talked about it since we've been here 2.5 years, but even before that. But I think we really need to input and insert reference to the changes, making it more feasible with percentage-wise in increment of the enrollment status, the true status, in reference to the community and sharing with the public. Because as we all know, I'll say it again, Pima Community College is a public institution, and the public has a right and must know in reference to what is the true numbers out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Dr. Hay.
Yes, so just so those on the audience know clearly, the board has a very clear process and procedure. Every year we meet as a board in our summer retreat to discuss not only board priorities, but Chancellor goals. We discussed those goals extensively for half a day. We all agreed on them, and I think Board Member Ripley can respond to this because she was the person taking the notes. But it was clearly defined and clearly decided that we have a process we follow. All board members were in the room and all agreed on the goals. So there's absolute transparency across the board. If any of us want additional input on the goals of the Chancellor, we can work and talk directly with the Chancellor and with the chair to talk about that. But we had that meeting, I'm thinking back in May. So there was plenty of time to further discuss goals of both the board and the Chancellor, and we have a clear process and procedures to do that. At no time has any of this information ever been held back from the public. We are totally 100% transparent. All the enrollment numbers are transparent to anybody who wants to know them. Please contact the Chancellor's office and I'll be glad to share that with you. All that information is transparent and we need to follow our procedures. We have procedures at the board about how we do board goals each year and how we do Chancellor's goals each year. And we followed those procedures clearly. And we started that back in April or May. And so everybody had an opportunity to participate. And we can change those as we move forward, but to anyway suggested it wasn't transparent and not every board member was involved. That's absolutely not true. We were all in the room. We all agreed on these board and the governor and the chancellor's goals, and there we go. So it was absolutely transparent.
Ms. Garcia.
Okay, so I'm gonna, to Dr. Hay, it's not that it isn't transparent, Dr. Hay, nor that we did not have an opportunity. You're correct in that assumption. But okay, so for us, I guess unfortunately, I'm gonna only speak for myself, is that I wasn't finished. I honestly misunderstood, okay? So, and so I guess what I would like to see, and the chancellor has agreed, I'm gonna submit my request to him. And if he tells me that he's gonna consider those, and then we can discuss it, I will go ahead and approve what we have now, but it'll be amended. Is that fair? Or do we hold off until next board meeting to approve it? I don't know.
Chancellor Lambert, do you want to?
So absolutely, Board Member Garcia, I welcome your input and to review that. Hopefully we can schedule a time for you and I to sit down and chat as we work through some of those and see how they already connect to what's here. If they don't connect with here, then let's look at how we can integrate. Just like with the board priorities, the chancellor's goals can also be modified along the way. So I'm totally open to that.
So, Mr. Chair, just a quick point of order. So just to be clear, of course, the chancellor by himself wouldn't amend these, but if the board, upon further review, wants to make an adjustment later on, that of course would be within the board's purview.
Okay. Well, I believe that maybe some of the items that are outlined in Ms. Garcia's list are encompassed into sort of broader goals. They're just more specific. So my hope is that there can, so there's a resolution, and then we can have a discussion either at the next meeting or in the November meeting if we need to make an amendment or if there's something we need to update. I mean, and again, it's an evolving working document, but it is the tool by which we measure the chancellor's performance. We use it as part of, just to remind the public, what we do each year is we adopt these goals, and then at the end of the year, we conduct a evaluation of the chancellor's performance based on a series of performance standards and these specific goals. So they become a benchmark by which we can measure, because there are other colleges who don't do this. And then at the end of the year, people are upset that things didn't happen. Well, they weren't clearly defined. So this really is the mechanism by which this board can hold Chancellor Lambert accountable for detailed outcomes that are measurable. And that's really the intent of this process. So, again, I'm really glad to hear that Ms. Garcia and Chancellor Lambert are going to sit down to try to work through that list and then come back with things that you may want to add. Okay. Is there any more discussion? Oh, Ms. Ripley.
Yes, I think that, this is a good discussion because there's clearly a communication gap, because we did have a 2-day retreat. We decided on the goals, we voted on them, and I did take the notes and drafted them up. And the draft was so that people could make grammatical changes and format changes. So apologies, Mr. Gonzalez, if there was some misunderstanding this is my first board retreat. But I was under the understanding that they were approved at the retreat, and we took the summer off, and today we're approving them, and they were in the board packet last week. So, but with that said, we move forward and we take, it's a living document, so we can add and change and discuss that. So thank you.
Mr. Lambert, Chancellor Lambert, do you have another?
Yes, so let me just put it the back end side of all this for a moment. So the HLC expects us to engage in integrated planning. So if you go back to, I'll just use a snapshot in time. From the Futures Conference, we invite the community in, students are there, we have staff, faculty there, as well as community members. Out of that comes, this past year came our strategic plan. Then we have my goals are developed in alignment with that. I ask my team for their input to make sure things are in alignment. I trust that they're in conversations with their teams that help feed up to that back end process. And then we develop a set of goals that I present to all of you during the retreat. And then you're inputting into that. And we've made modifications of what you see here today. So it is a multi-month process that's connected to larger pieces like the strategic plan, like the master plan and other plans. So it's not done in isolation. I just want everyone to know that. And by the way, this is something that Pima was not doing before my arrival. And as you noted, Mr. Chair, a lot of places don't do this either. And so we are leading the way in terms of board priorities, chancellor goals, a focus around planning and so forth. I don't want us to lose sight of that. Now, with that said, there's always room to improve, to make sure we are addressing the opportunities and challenges ahead.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Lambert. Okay, so with no further discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to the motion, please indicate by saying no.
No.
I abstain.
Okay, so the motion passes 3-2 with Mr. Gonzalez voting no and Ms. Garcia abstaining. Okay, is there a request for future agenda items? Okay, oh, Ms. Garcia?
No,
okay.
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All
and
right.
with that, the meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Chancellor Lambert.
Thank you.